And we're live. Oh, I just hit the mic. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Men of Real Estate Show. I think we have maybe one more week with that name, and then something's going to happen. It's going to change.
If you're on Clubhouse, you already know.
That's right. If you follow us on YouTube, you probably already know what's going to happen. But welcome to the show. We got a lot of news articles to cover today. We're broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and Clubhouse all at the same time, so you should be able to find us there. If you can't find us in Clubhouse, you can search my name or Dan's name, or you can look for the Real Estate Networking Club, and be sure to follow that club. You'll be alerted of all the rooms that happen, kind of like this one. We're doing a real estate tech talk later today at like 3:30 California time. But today we have a whole bunch of news on the show. As usual. I mean, this whole show is kind of all about the news, right? We're talking about U.S. home prices hitting record levels, as you might have guessed from our thumbnail. We're also talking about pending home sales surging. So we have record home prices and home sales surging. Is there a connection there? Or buyers just like, I don't care, get me in that house. We're talking about a 20-year mortgage. A 20-year mortgage. What's that going to do to the mortgage industry? We'd love to have you join the show, tag people, bring people in that may have additional knowledge and information on that. Why has it always been 15 and 30 years? So we'll talk a little bit about that today.
Why has everyone been opposed to 20 years this whole time?
Like, what's going on? All the hate for 20-year mortgages.
Yeah. And why by the way, I'm proposing legislation for a new 18% down program. I don't want to do 20%. I don't want to do 10. I want to do 18%.
Yeah, they should have done, let's see, it's halfway between 15 and 30. That's where they should have landed. It's like, what, 27 and a half years or something? I don't know.
22.5.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
That's what it's 22 and a half year mortgage.
Yeah.
So we're talking about two things that I would love to get some opinions from the real estate agents and also, title people, loan people. One of them is there was a company that cut corners to boost volume.
Allegedly.
And they're getting sued by the company they used to work for. So it sounds pretty wrapped up given the emails and discussions, but we'll talk about that. We're also gonna and why they wanted to boost the volume. We'll talk about that too. Also, there was a big deal about a Sarasota real estate transaction that did make some national news, where an agent double-ended, quote unquote, a deal in which he was a transaction broker, meaning he represented, I guess you could say, neither the seller or the buyer, and a transaction happened, and then someone who put in an offer on that later talked to the seller, come to find out his offer wasn't presented quite the same as it was written. So we have no representation issue to talk about. We have a dual agency representation issue to talk about. And we have an escalation clause issue to talk about. And if offers are in writing or not, we also have that to talk about. So
yes,
it's a big lawsuit.
There's more.
But
we're gonna wait.
Wait, there's more. I mean, this is one that will go down into the textbooks of real estate in the future, to talk about what could have been done different and how it could have been handled different. The agent supposedly is a great agent in the area, has an excellent reputation, but maybe he messed up. So we'll see. We don't have a lot of the documents. All we have is a whole bunch of speculation, which, I mean, that's what makes a show a show. So, Dan, did I tell you I get to? Well, I almost said see D Jones in person. Has she joined the show yet? I don't think she's on the show yet.
No.
I get to see her on Zoom the other day. So I was in a Zoom call, did a little presentation for Hsieh, which is an amazing YouTuber and real estate agent. And there she was. She was on the Zoom call. She was like, "Hey." So,
hey, I know you.
Yeah, I know. It was fun. All right, so I should mention we're broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook. If you comment there, we can actually display your comments live. If you're lurking there, that's fine, but we do see the number of people that are currently watching, and we know you're there, so we would appreciate it if you comment. We could display your comment and talk about the comment, or we can talk about you. We'd also appreciate it if you share there. And then in Clubhouse, you can actually come up and join the broadcast. So later, we'll come to some of the people that are on the stage. If you have anything to add to the conversation, just raise your hand and we'll bring you up. And you can put your 2 cents in about some of these articles. I think we'll have to go pretty quick though today. I have a pretty hard out at one. So
the first 3 or 4.
See, there we go. Facebook comment, Dusty Martin says, "Hey, Bearded Men." Hi, Dusty. And we can display it just like that. So Dan, before we get into all this, wow, I know the Salt Lickers said I'm just a bot. Melissa Mara says, hey guys, Julie Moon, yay, she's here. Afternoon, y'all. Julie Moon about to get beat this weekend as Arkansas takes on Georgia.
There's some shade.
So are you, Matt Larsh. About to big beat down, and yeah, no one can hear you because you're on Clubhouse, and I don't have it up here yet.
I'm torn. Says, we have family friends in Georgia, and obviously Julie Moon and Matt Malarsh, and there's I know someone really well from Arkansas, so I'm a little torn.
There's no torn there. All right, so Ray in a hat. Weird. That's not weird. I wear hats.
Yeah.
I have hats.
He's not a hat guy, but he's also not a hat guy, but he wears hats, you know.
I wear hats. She says she's having bacon on Saturday morning. Well, I'm having dogs, so.
No.
Wait.
We should get into the show.
All right. You want to tell people what this show's all about?
You know what? I would love to. Now, that is weird. You're very right, Julie. That's very
It's called
weird.
a hot dog, Julie. Good grief. What are you thinking? God,
oh, I thought something completely different. But when I met Ray here many, many moons ago, we started the internet. And then we decided to start a show called The Bearded Man of Real Estate because I had an idea for the show because I am, in fact, a bearded man of real estate. And when I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him.
What's that, Daniel?
In 5th grade, he won a soapbox derby. Did you guys know that about him?
So it wasn't in the soapbox derby, but you know what are those little cars? What were the derbies? You know where you had to make the little
car? Kinetic power.
Yeah. Is that a soapbox derby?
Yeah, a little. No, well, soapbox. I meant like you were sitting.
You had was sitting in a soapbox. I lost the soapbox sledding competition, but we did carve those little. You had to get you had to carve your own car and put the weights on and figure it out.
And it had parameters, right?
I did that in 5th grade. That was the only year I did that. So that was weird that you would mention it.
And I was gonna say 6th grade, but I went to 5th grade and I was dead on. So
that's weird.
Every week I just make up something about Ray, and usually I'm pretty right. So this is weird. But anyway,
did you know in 4th grade, actually, I was in Georgia for 1 year of my life, and then we moved back. So,
and he's still a Razorback fan. Go Razorbacks!
Yeah, that's right.
I picked my side here on the show.
Pinewood Derby says
there
Ron Bruno. Yeah, Ron, I need you to come up too. He's on Clubhouse. I need you to come up and talk about this 20-year mortgage thing later. So be sure to looking for that.
I invited him.
All right, good.
I don't invite a lot of people because I'll click on your name, by the way. If you're in Clubhouse, I'll click on your name. If you don't have much in your profile, we can't bring you up. Throw something in there. But anyway, I obviously noticed he's a beautifully bearded man, but what I also noticed is he loves giving value up front to not only his clients, but just to humans in general. So the show's about being more as an agent, but also being more as a human. I just
and one of the ways
I think I said being born as a human.
Well, I mean, so that's going to be a requirement to enjoy the show. One of the ways we think you could be more as a human is by knowing what in the world is going on so that you can give wise counsel and advice to your clients. And some of them are making one of the largest financial decisions of their entire life. Whether or not to buy a house, and what you say matters. Isn't it crazy when you think about it? So maybe we should know what is up in the world, what's going on in the real estate world, what's going on in the economy. And with that, we can get into
our comments are on fire today. So I said he's a Razorbacks fan, and then the Salt Laker said he's just not a Razor
fan. That's true.
No,
it would just be the men of real estate, which would be just more.
Yeah, it would just more. But it's funny though, because we've had sponsors reach out, and one of them is actually razors, and we're like,
you can't say
it. Well, it's not necessarily razors for your face.
It's a specific type of landscaping,
right? But it's interesting that they reached out to
us,
right?
Well, we don't show everything on the show, so you never know. All right.
Hey, I don't know why anymore, but if you guys somehow hate this band, you know what? We're not doing links anymore. You have to watch the video.
No, we'll always do the links. Go down to the bottom of the show.
We're doing a link for the banter, and then every link you click will take you back to the banter.
Julie Mood says we should maybe close down the feed and start over. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, you can always go down to the comments. They'll be in the description. There'll be all the titles of the headlines we're going to cover today, and then timestamps. So you can zoom right to where we talk about that article, skip all this stuff. You can also subscribe to the channel, and if you do, we will have chops. So we'll take like little short segments of the show where we talk about articles. We'll chop them up. Get it? Chops. It's a facial hair joke. We'll chop them up, and then we'll release those separately throughout the week. So it's another way to catch the show if you can't catch it here. Also want to mention, if you do watch us or watch us, if you do listen to us on the podcast, we'd appreciate a review there because that helps the algorithm and other people find it.
That keeps us at the top of the food chain in Taiwan.
Taiwan, yeah. Number 16 show. I need an update on that, but we were number the 16th news and commentary show in the entire world of Taiwan. Are you ready?
We're making waves. Let's go.
Let's go.
My cats are now epically brawling on their tree. All right, this should be fun. Let's go.
They're doing what?
They're epically brawling.
Oh, brawling. Oh, okay.
Yeah, look at. Oh, by the way, there you go, D Jones. Boom.
Hey, D. I was just talking about seeing you yesterday. There she is. She says, "Hey, Beards." Hey, that was neat. Okay. Sorry, I've got to produce this at the same time, so I'm getting over to my Chrome tab here. The U.S. has hit record home prices. Again, the article says. So this article comes to us from Housing Wire. July marked the fourth consecutive month in which the growth rate of home prices set a record, according to the latest S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller National Home Price Index report. This is a quote from Craig Lazar. He's a managing director and global head of the index investment strategy, S&P DJI. He said the last several months have been extraordinary, not only for the level of price gains, but the consistency of gains across the country. The Case-Shiller 10-city home price index rose 9.1% from July 2020 to July 2021, which is up from the 18.5% increase recorded in June 2021. The 20-city index posted a 19.9 year-over-year gain from 19.1 a month earlier. For the 26th straight month, Phoenix recorded, there you go, Phoenix, Dusty. Phoenix recorded the highest year-over-year home price increase at 32.4%. San Diego was second with 27.8%, and Seattle was third with 25.5% increase.
Wow.
Those are crazy appreciation increases.
That's just in the last year, right?
Yeah.
So that's not taking into account, I mean, because we went crazy in those first 3 months of the Rona, or when things, got figured out, and then the market just went nuts. And it's 28% higher than that in San Diego, dude.
Yeah, 32% higher than that in Phoenix, 28% higher than that in Seattle. No, I'm sorry. San Diego was 28%. Yeah, Seattle was 25.5, so 26%. The surge of millennials approaching the prime home buying age and are experiencing more. Hang on. There is a surge of millennials approaching the prime home buying age and are experiencing more flexibility to expand their search locations. This is the CoreLogic Deputy Chief Economist Selma Hepp said in a statement. Additionally, there are move-up buyers with larger budgets who are relocating to more affordable areas where they are financially able to outbid local residents. Taken together, these factors have created a double whammy for home price growth. So basically, this is what we hypothesized a year and a half ago when the whole COVID stuff started happening. People were kind of looking for different areas around the country. And at this time of year, they were kind of fleeing from the big metros and the major metros and going to smaller towns. And now they can work from anywhere. So exactly kind of what the experts were saying and what we were regurgitating seems to be happening. There's a mass exodus where you are, right? Right, Dan?
Yeah, and I have exactly that scenario. I'm going to contribute to the mass exodus. It's a friend of mine who bought a year and a half ago, right before this happened. And he's like, hey, I'm just thinking about it, because we send out updates like, hey, your house might be worth this, to anyone that bought. That's just a thing we do. But the thing has, it's been so crazy. I mean, up 32% in Phoenix that, he's like, well, I can work. He works digitally anyway. Everything he does is digital anyway. So it's like, I can work from anywhere. So let's just talk about it. So there's another conversation already be had. So I'm going to add to the mass exodus from California if I can.
Yeah, I mean, it leaves room to create videos about why people should stay in the area that you serve. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine. He works from home now. His wife works from home now, and they decided to move. And so they're needing additional space. Obviously, they want to figure out a way to make 2 offices. So converting a formal dining room, that is a great way to have an extra office space, especially if the quote unquote eating kitchen or the kitchen nook's big enough for a large table. So that tends to kind of work perfect. That's what they're thinking about doing. And then I asked him, I was like, wait a minute, y'all both work from home. Why are you staying here? Like, why not go to Hawaii or like,
right,
like anywhere tropical or where most people would consider a second home destination? Why not go there?
Yeah.
And so then he started giving me like the laundry. They thought about it. And then he was like, well, cost of living is so much lower. Our dollar stretches farther. We have a better standard of life for us and our kids. And
so are you predicting a mass exodus from Arkansas?
No, I think everybody's going to come here because it's so cheap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A mass exodus. There you go.
Is that what is the opposite of exodus?
I don't know. I feel like if someone has a smart speaker, they could just ask it.
Maybe
I wanted to add one.
I'm sure we got numbers.
I wanted to add a quote from Matthew Speakman. He's from someone knows. If only Logan was still on Clubhouse. But home price growth remains scorching hot as the housing market entered the dog days of summer. But data released in the weeks since indicate cooler days in the months to come. That's from Matthew Speakman, a Zillow economist. So the tight market conditions that have fueled the skyrocketing prices are finally showing signs of loosening. For sale inventory levels charted their 4th consecutive monthly increase in August, and sellers appear to be taking a less aggressive approach when putting their homes on the market. Price growth remains about as hot as ever, but the housing market is gradually retreating towards a more balanced state. So the reason I wanted to bring this one up is because, yes, we've been saying on the show, yes, things are cooling. And there's another article where it mentions cooling at the end of it. But 32% in Phoenix, 28% in San Diego, 26% in Seattle. Like, yes, things are cooling, but you've made potentially 20% in the last year. So yes, they're cooling, but now maybe it's the perfect time to sell and then buy because things are cooler and maybe you don't have as much competition on the buy side. So there's definitely data to get out there for you realtors to get out to your clients now. It's cooling, but you can still max out your budget. You may not get $400,000 over asking. I went $400,000 specifically for that Florida story. But you can still get top dollar and still maybe it's a little easier on the buy side.
And you're outbidding on the locals.
I think, was that this article that mentioned that or what?
Yeah. Outbidding all the locals. Yeah. All right. So I want to skip the next one. We're going to come back to the next one. Let me get to this one because let's see. The title of this one is pending home sales surged more than expected in August after 2 months of declines. Dun, dun, dun. So signed contracts to buy existing homes increased 8.1% month to month in August, according to the National Association of Realtors, as buyers encountered higher inventory and slightly more favorable prices. And we've been talking about the increased inventory thing for a couple of months. We've been feeling it. I think it was almost 3 months ago, we kind of did a round robin on Clubhouse, and there were a lot of the realtors that were on there agreeing that they felt additional inventory was hitting the market. They were starting to see some slowing. But then boom, this happens. Analysts were expecting a 1% monthly rise. Signings were still down 8.3% compared with August of 2020, but it increased 8.1%. So August increased followed 2 months of declines, according to the National Association of Realtors. Rising inventory and moderating price conditions are bringing buyers back to the market. Affordability, however, remains challenging as home price gains are roughly 3 times wage growth. That's Lawrence Yoon, NAR's chief economist.
That's crazy.
And then it talks again about the home prices, which we've already covered. But this is what Lawrence Yoon says on that stuff. The more moderately priced regions of the South and Midwest are experiencing stronger signings of contracts to buy, which is not surprising. This can be attributed to some employees who have flexibility to work from anywhere as they choose to reside in more affordable places. Again, backing up exactly what we said on the previous article too, is that it appears that people are making decisions to buy in more affordable places, especially when they can work from anywhere. Mike Elizabeth Rodell said living in Florida was cheaper. Really? What part of Florida? She also said tourists paid for all this stuff. The state charges us now. I guess it does kind of depend on part two.
By the way, to go back just one step, the opposite of exodus is influx. Why didn't we think of that?
Oh, why didn't we think of that? We were trying to do an OUS sound. We wanted it to rhyme.
We really did. But anyway.
All right.
He spelled hogs wrong.
Who?
Matt Millarch.
Oh, yeah, he did. Matt Millarch says go hogs, but it's spelled with a D. That's weird.
Yeah, he also spelled his own last name wrong.
That's true.
By the way, he's a great agent, and his name is Matt LaMarche, but we call him Matt Millarch. Okay,
so we're seeing just this week, I've been able to actually say, because I've said Matt LaMarche so long. So we have home prices hitting record levels. We have pending home sales surging. Is there anything that could put a stop to it, Dan? Anything?
Mortgage rate demand or mortgage demand?
Mortgage demand falls as rates rise to the highest level since July.
It's almost like I had like the show rundown in front of me or something.
So after gains in the previous week, the total mortgage application volume fell 1.1% last week from the previous week, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association seasonally adjusted index. Quote, increased optimism about the strength of the economy pushed treasury yields higher following last week's FOMC meeting. Mortgage rates in response rose across all loan types, with the benchmark 30-year fixed rate reaching its highest level since early July 2021. That's a quote from Joel Kahn. He's the Mortgage Bankers Association Vice President of Economic and Industry Forecasting.
Love it.
So, yeah, this is interesting. Rates are going up, it seems to be. The reason they gave for rates going up was
they have to.
Treasury yields were higher.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So they're going up with home price appreciation continuing to run hot, increasing more than 19% annually in July. Applications for larger loan amounts continue to outpace lower loan amounts. We talked about that in the past too. As the prices go up, then your mortgage loan amounts are also going to go up.
That's what I noted. That with the prices running hot, the average loan size for a purchase application reached $410,000.
Yeah.
That's its highest level since May. And then here's where we're at. The very end of the article, Ray. We've been predicting this. We're almost there. It ends with
I saw the quote.
You see it? It's we haven't seen a headline that a year ago, what would I say? A year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we were doing articles, home price gains slow. It was the title of the article, but now we see it in articles, not titles yet, but it says price gains are expected to soon start cooling.
Slightly.
Simply because sales have dropped more and more supply is coming on the market. Higher mortgage rates will also take some of the fuel out of rising prices, since potential buyers would face higher monthly payments. So it's coming. We will rejoice. I will have a bottle of champagne ready for when that headline comes back.
The peasants rejoice.
Yeah.
So, and we haven't had a lot of, I want to come to Clubhouse and stuff for interaction, but it's really about this one article, because I think we cover basically the same thing every week, right? We talk about pending home sales. We talk about new home sales. We'll talk about builder sentiment. And those are kind of the three stories that usually run through a month. We talk about sales prices increasing, sales prices decreasing. We talk about mortgage rates, mortgage application volume, but it's all kind of trending the same way. Since we started the whole pandy, home price gains have seemed to increase and to speed up. Inventory has seemed to decrease, right, and stay low. But then we started seeing a couple of months ago, inventory start to increase. As soon as they increase and hit the market, boom, it's sold. Meanwhile, everybody that Logan Matashami would call like the forbearance crash bros, along with the housing bubble boys. I think
housing bubble boys.
That's right. That was all kind of put to shame because every time there's an increased inventory, bam, it sells, and it sells really quickly. And Julie Moon just kind of echoed what I just said there. There's literally no new news regarding housing prices. Yes, I agree.
It's all they're just trying to write articles around the same data. Hey, it's up. It's still up.
It's still up.
You made more money. In the last month, you made even more money. It's crazy.
Yeah. So if you have a buyer right now that's thinking, well, I don't really want to buy right now because if I buy now, I'm buying at the peak of the market. It's only going to go up. There's only been 2 recessions in history in which prices have decreased, and those were recessions in which we are not in one.
And we have proven vehemently that there will not be a crash.
And not only are home prices going to go up, it appears based on the data that mortgage rates will also go up. So now it's not like the stock market. It's not like Bitcoin. It doesn't do that way. So it's going to be more expensive to buy a house, and houses are still going to be more expensive. So if you have a buyer sitting on the fence, share this stuff with them and let them know what's going on, because you could save them thousands and thousands of dollars. All my clients that bought last year, when I said, no, it's not going to crash, you should go ahead and close, they have like $30,000 of equity now.
And that's in Central Arkansas. Imagine, so like the buyer that I mentioned is now a potential seller. I mean, he's here in California around LA. He bought at a higher price point and he's made quite a bit, So yeah. And he was that same thing. Like, what do we do? Do we close? Do we have to suspend this? And I said, let's go ahead and close. Let's do it.
Kelvin J. Harris says, sorry, Kelvin. He says, we are definitely spoiled by the rate over the last 5 to 7 years. Right. Yeah, the historic average is like 7 to 8%. So we're still hovering in the 3s. We were in the 2s, guys. So
for a long time.
Yeah. So this is nuts. So what I want to talk about next is this 20-year mortgage rate. And Dan, I think you've done a little more research on this than I have. And I'd like to hear some lenders and experts that are out there about this 20-year mortgage thing. What's it going to do for home buyers? What's it going to do for the market? And why is it available for a limited audience? So the Democrats propose a 20-year mortgage for first-gen home buyers. That's one of our first questions. It's like, why is it only available for first-gen? Right. The raft of legislation designated to spur first-time home ownership in America seems to grow by the minute. Another bill has just joined the fray, and its sponsors propose creating a now 20-year fixed-rate mortgage through Ginnie Mae. The legislation dubbed Low Income First Time Homebuyer Act. That's clever. LIFT. LIFT.
Right. It's gotta come with an acronym now.
LIFT. H with an H. LIFT. It's actually LIFT. Lift. Because it's a TH. They left off the H. Low income first time home buyer. They forgot the H. So it's LIFT.
Yeah.
The LIFT Act would create a program through the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
It is. It's LIFT.
It's like Mike Tyson saying it. The LIFT Act.
It's the new LIFT Act.
Sorry.
I'm gonna hit him and I'm gonna apply for the new LIFT Act.
The LIFT Act. The LIFT Act would create a program through the Department of Housing and Urban Development that would sponsor low fixed rate 20-year mortgages. The bill sponsored by whoever. All Democrat sponsors. I'm just going to read all these names. I'm just not
whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just sponsored by some Dems. It doesn't matter.
The number one way that middle class Americans built wealth is through home ownership, an opportunity that, due to racism and structural inequality, has been denied to too many families of color, Warner said in a statement. Today, Black families in this country have an average net worth of just 1/10 the size of the white counterparts. This is so in the past couple of months, 2 versions of the $15,000 first-time home buyer tax credit and the Down Payment Towards Equity Act were introduced,
which we covered here on the show,
which we did cover, which is kind of why I'm glossing over those pretty fast.
Yep.
Their first priority is creating homeowners, and our second priority is to accelerate wealth building. I want to see like the numbers though, like why. So this is my question. This move would allow home buyers to build equity and wealth at twice the rate of a conventional 30-year mortgage. But in the payment going to be more?
The payment would be, so when I do a 15-year fix, my payment is, I don't think it's almost double, but it's much higher. And
it's much higher.
You do get a better rate because it's less risk for the lender, but it's 15 years.
In part of the problem why people can't buy a home because they can't afford the monthly payment.
That's usually why you can't.
That's why if I
were to just buy a house with a 15-year fixed, my payment would be much, much higher. So
just a shorter term.
My question is, I mean, I have a lot of questions on this, but my question is, the payment's going to be higher, which if it's for middle income families, shouldn't we do something that keeps their payment lower, which would be the 30-year fixed and then default back to the down payment assistance?
Or as Julie Moon says, this would make sense if it were a 40-year mortgage.
Yeah, but that's crazy.
But it lowers the payment, right?
It does lower the payment. She's going to where, because that lowers the payment, because ultimately them getting paid back. I don't know.
I'm wondering who's going to take advantage of this. I feel like if you could afford the payment on a 20-year mortgage, then you're probably going to be pretty good for a 30-year. I mean, you just pay more and then pay it off faster.
If you can afford just get the 30-year, have a better payment, and then start building equity and putting money away to save it.
I guess the rate's a little more. What percentage of people stay in their home 20 years?
That's low at this point. I mean, especially with
5. I wonder what the 5-year comparison of equity would be.
Wasn't it it was 3 to 5 years for a while, wasn't it? The last, it's like 2017 to 19. Now it's more like 5 to 7. Isn't it trending that way now? But it's still not 30 years.
Juan Bruno said he had to run. I'm going to try to ping him back in though. I said, no worries. And now I'm going to ping him.
Well, you got to remember, if the longer the mortgage, the more interest they're going to pay as well. But
yeah,
what is driven by coming up with a 20% down? Is it just getting them into a home or keeping their payment lower so it's less risk and more likely that they'll pay back the note?
Right. These are all great questions. Christian Harris, do you have the answer? I see you down there. Paul T, he's got his hand raised. Let me bring up, let's use some group think. So let me bring up Clubhouse, and any of you that are in the comments too, especially D Jones. D said, I feel like people are paying 40 years now. I'd love to hear, was that a cattail that just went by on the?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Paul,
they literally ignore me. They ignore me until the second we start the podcast.
So, Paul, I'm sure you want to comment on this part because that's when you raise your hand. So I'm going to come right to you. Tell us who you are, where you work, and tell me what you think about this 20-year mortgage thing. Is this a good thing? Is it going to make a difference? What's it going to do?
That's a good question. So this is Paul Tollefson. I'm with Synergy One Lending, but I haven't read all of the details on it completely yet because they're still kind of fleshing that out, I think. However, here's some thoughts. The way that they could make that more attractive is by creating a lower rate structure for that 20-year product if they get that out, and creating incentive by keeping the rates lower, because obviously where we're headed, like you were saying earlier, is we've seen the highest increase in rates since Thursday of last week, since March, and it's going to continue kind of clicking upwards. So here's the real question though. Part of what we should be looking at as opposed to getting people into a 20-year mortgage is getting people trained in my industry. Literally, if your dog could speak, you could become a a loan originator. I mean, if
and a real estate agent here in California,
pass the NMLS test, and we could have dogs out here doing what we do. But the truth of the matter is, we need more
like Atlanta
skilled originators to be able to help people who are trying to get into a home, because there are a lot of different ways of structuring a mortgage that can benefit somebody way better than that 20-year mortgage could. For example, if they do have 20% to put down, is it smart to put 20% down, or should we be considering putting less down, buying out the mortgage insurance, and investing that delta between the cash to close of a, say, 5% and a 20% mortgage, with an advisor that could potentially make us twice what we're paying in interest on that loan over the next 20 years or 30 years. So if we could look at alternative ways of creating wealth for those people, aside from just the appreciation. And of course, like you said earlier, Ray, we're anticipating 12% nationally as a appreciation rate in the next 12 months. And with rates rising and the cost of housing rising, it's just going to be harder and more challenging for people whose wages aren't keeping up to get into that space. So what we need is more people out there who are able to guide and coach these people into getting into a home that will ultimately benefit their long-term financial plan. So that's just kind of my 2 cents.
That's great.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I agree with you on principle, but practically speaking, if somebody saves a couple of $1,000s on a loan per year, it's not like they're taking that money and setting it aside and saying, well, we have a couple of $1,000s now that we would have spent on a 15-year fixed or on the principal on this 30-year loan that instead we're going to take and invest. That's not practically what is happening in mortgages. And what is actually happening is people are saying, well, all I have to put down is this. I can barely afford to pay my own closing cost. So, and for me to afford the house that I really want, I've got to stretch that dollar as far as it'll go. And that's the situation that most home buyers are in. Rarely do I have someone that's like, okay, we're doing a 15-year fix because we had saved so much money and we're going to turn around and take the principal that we're not putting towards the house and invest it. There's like maybe 1 or 2 clients out of 100 go that direction. And I don't know that in a market where affordability is the issue, that a 20-year fixed rate is going to fix it. That's my question. What I don't understand what the problem is they're trying to fix with the 20-year mortgage. That's the disconnect. I think there's this device they want to use, but how does that fix the actual problem?
Right.
So
go ahead,
so
Paul.
You're spot on that, and I think just the outside 10,000-foot view is that it will not. And I think that it's a challenging. This is a scenario where we have a governmental body trying to put together a solution that has no understanding of what they're putting out there.
What the actual problem is.
I think this is where we get into trouble in politics and our economics of housing, is that we don't have. If they were smart with this, Ray, they would probably put everybody out there in our space, in the real estate industry, in a think tank, and come up with a solution that's going to ultimately help people. But without seeing the details.
Have you seen the Facebook groups of real estate agents? That sounds like a disaster too.
Horrible idea.
Yeah, I think, well, maybe not. Let's not open it up to 100% of everybody, but let's try to put together some good minds that can get us to where we can create some confidence in the public in the decisions that we're putting out there around creating these things. Now, they're gonna build this program the 20% down program, and it'll be much like several other programs that have come out in the last year and earlier, where we have options
20-year mortgage
to put people into a loan that ultimately don't get used because it just doesn't make great financial sense for a lot of people. Truthfully,
so why
a
put money
15-year
and effort
mortgage doesn't
towards
make
this?
great financial sense. You know, if you're looking at it, if you have the ability to come in with a 15-year mortgage, you have the ability to probably network with your investment advisor and have them do something that makes, you know, more sense, where the confluence of your investment and your amortization come together even less than 15 years, you know. So this is just another example of government trying to fix a problem that they don't understand.
Okay, so can I go right there?
Yeah, I think and to your point, I think me and Julie Moon are tracking. As soon as I was like, what's the problem they're trying to solve with it?
Problem,
that's exactly, yeah, what is the problem? So the problem that they say that they're trying to solve is the inequality through loans. But is this just for minorities? Like, I don't.
Well, that's what it says a lot of there, and it said the difference to 1/10 of wealth or whatever. But they keep glazing over which article was it, or was it
Housing Wire? This one's Housing Wire,
or was it Paul that just said it? Where somewhere someone either mentioned it or the article mentioned it, but there's a discrepancy, a large discrepancy in what people actually make versus where homes are. You know. And,
yeah, that was the one. I think Lawrence Yoon mentioned that.
There you go. It's 3 times
is
different.
Still the issue,
right?
Yeah.
So it's the foundation of all this is people need to make more, and we can afford to pay them more. The bottom line is, we've talked about on the show, like, I don't mind paying another 10 cents for my iced tea. I don't. If that means we all pay 10 more cents for our iced teas, and then everyone in that place gets paid $17 an hour, $15 an hour, whatever it is. Because I go to In-N-Out a lot, and it's the best burger on the planet, and their fries are amazing. Go ahead and fight me if you want to talk about their fries. Anyway,
so here's what happens though. Let's say in a perfect world, you raise everyone's income $5.
Right.
Suddenly everything gets $5 more expensive. That's what happens. Because
no, I know that's the easy way to say it, but here's the other part, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with this, but we live in a world, and one of our stories, if we have time to cover it, about the CEO of Loan Depot, he did a bunch of sketchy things to give himself a $42 million bonus. What if they didn't do sketchy things and $42 million was dispersed to its employees? Like, we live in a time where CEOs are making crazy amounts of money, and I don't want to take anything away from them. They've earned it. They've worked their butts off to create this new product that now everyone wants to buy or use their service or whatever. I get that. But when you're looking at someone that works 40 to 60 hours a week and can't pay their bills, and then a dude that made a really awkwardly shaped rocket and flew into space, like, there's a problem. And
Bezos.
Yeah. And if you haven't heard the Jeffrey Bezos song, you need to hear that. But my point is, there's a large discrepancy between those two things. And then you have politicians that are like, I'm going to solve it, and I'm going to put my name on it. I'm going to support this 20-year mortgage. No, but the real issue is that people don't make enough money. So
well, how are the loan qualifications going to be any different for the 20-year mortgage? Yeah, it's just but it says low income, so it's only available for low income, first time home buyer.
Well, and remember, and it's also, the article says that it's taking funding away from a 30-year fixed, the two other programs, the down payment assistance and the what's it called? It's a grant, right? It's taking money away and attention away from those, but this one's getting a little more bipartisan support. But I don't think this one has legs. I don't. But it's taking
anything now. Single.
Yeah, and then remember, it's for first generation. How anyone could just say it's hard. How do you prove that? Like, no, I'm first generation. My dad never bought a house. Call
it says that in the headlines, but it doesn't.
No, it says at the very, very end. Here, I'll read the quote.
Okay.
It says, I mean, the real question is, how do you prove this is I don't know. It just says Stevens. But I mean, the real question is, how do you prove that you're a first generation buyer? Remember, first generation sellers had a whole thing too. As long as the borrower attests to the fact that they are first generation, they technically are able to apply. That's the only area where I, meaning the Stevens guy, think there could be some moral hazard.
That's Dave Stevens. He's a former FHA commissioner.
So, you know, and it's, yeah, where's the article about the CEO that take the pay cut and all employees would make like $70K a year? That's from Melissa. But there's a really good company. I like to research these things, but there's Cliff Bar out there, and they have all their employees are owners, and they're all happy and they're all amazing and they all have a great life. You know what I mean? We live in such a world with large discrepancies. It's sweeping, you know, either, you know, poor people or extremely rich people, and there's no middle ground, you know. So it's
found it. Okay. Under the LIFT program, the lender would instead offer this home buyer 1.5% 20-year FHA insured mortgage, which would include a 4% upfront FHA fee that will be folded into the loan at no annual FHA premium. That's the lever that they're using. So it's a 1.5% rate loan. It compares a monthly payment of $970 for a 30-year to a $1,004 20-year fixed.
Okay, so who's paying the rest of the loan? Because it's, even though you just, hey, it's an arbitrary number, right? Hey, you get a 1.5% loan, but someone's paying the rest of the loan, right?
Who's making up the difference of the percent? That must be the government program, right?
Or is the government paying for that, or is it being put on the back of the loan and someone's making money off of it?
Today's first-time home buyers' means of purchasing a property for $210,000 is likely to put down $10,000 and take out a $200,000 mortgage. In today's market, a lender would offer this borrower a 2.75% FHA, for which the borrower would pay an annual 8.5% FHA insurance fee and 1.75% upfront fee. So this is a 4% upfront fee that's then folded onto the back of the loan. So actually, instead of a $200,000 loan, it would be a $208,000 loan.
Aha.
And they're putting down $10,000. So it sucks. I
have a solution, Ray.
What's that? We
need to get rid of our government.
Oh my gosh. You've gone from price controls or what's it called? Universal income to just get rid of them.
Just get rid of them.
Okay, so it's an interesting program. I'd love to have more discussion and more thoughts on this. If you have any, you want to flash your mic, come up here. Julie Moon, I thought she had some great comments. If you want to talk about them out loud, if you're in the place too, she may not be in the place too.
I feel like she's just going to come on here and start talking about the dogs. So no, let's not do that.
We haven't heard from Nico in a while, so I want to get to you. Nico, tell us who you are, where you are, and Julie, I saw you flash, so you can come back up here too. But go ahead, Nico.
Salutations to Mr. Beards. Hope everything is well. This is Nico, the neighborhood seller from North Jersey. You know what? It was funny. I just happened to come on. I just finished talking to a client of mine. He has shit credit. Oh, you know what? I don't know if you guys have any
beef credit.
He has crap credit.
Wow, that's amazing.
I mean, he's a cop. Didn't know how to do his finances, but he's making great money now. So I told him, like, you know, if you do a conventional loan, you're gonna get beat up because his credit score is below 700. But I told him once you go for a 15-year, he'll pay more per month. But the 15-year, I know they kind of forgive the credit scores because it's still the high risk. So I'm curious to see a situation like this that would help my client for a 20-year would be more beneficial because the payment's not going to be as large. But if they're looking the other way on credit because of the risk factor, it might be better for these kind of clients. What do you guys think?
Depending on his income, apparently. So it's only for low income. So which I don't see. Let me just see if I can find. I'm trying to read through the bill to get some of this information. So it takes me a second. But
low income first generation buyers.
Yeah. Let's see. Incomes equal or less than 120% of their area medium income.
Yeah. It does mention that.
So it's going to be 120% of their area or median income. So it can only
max.
be
It can't go above that.
basically 20% higher than the middle.
Yeah.
It cannot go above that.
Right.
And then so as long as they're within that range, then that could be a good solution, Nico. But is this going to cover the problem that they're trying to cover? That's still the big question, which I don't know the answer to.
Well, it's another one. How many articles have we had like this, Ray, over the last 4 years? We've almost been doing this show for 4 years, by the way. Wow. Where they introduce a thing, but it's like, we get it, we understand what you're trying to do, but you've missed the mark again.
Yeah.
And how will it really? And now there's because the down payment assistance and the grants, they haven't passed yet, so they're just now in Congress fighting over this.
Let me get to a couple of comments. Then I want to come to Julie Moon because she had some of these comments. The Salt Lakers said the average buyer will have a major home-related expense within the first year of purchase. I don't have statistics, but that's just one way it is tough. It is though. Yeah. Julie Moon says, on top of all that, I have an appraisal gap cash to buy. Yeah, that's true. We were talking about the offers earlier. What kind of offer do you have to put in? And she's like, well, on top of all this, you have to do the appraisal gap. She asked about the problem. Houses are more expensive. This doesn't solve that problem. Folks don't have the income to support the new prices.
Yeah.
Doesn't solve that problem either. Traditionally, new construction has been an affordable way to get your first home.
But there's no new construction.
There's no new construction. So it doesn't help that problem either. All right. So Julie, you're on stage in Clubhouse. What do you think about this?
I mean, it's one of those things that I think on paper sounds really good. Sure. I would love for someone to be able to have a monthly payment in line with a 30-year and have it only for 20 years, thus getting them more equity. That sounds like a really great idea. But the fact remains that there's still, this doesn't solve any of those things that I was just saying. And you read those comments. And it makes me sad that I have friends and clients who are now, unless they get a better job or their income increases greatly, there now are no houses in our area that are under $200,000. So the new bottom has increased more than their incomes have increased. And unless that changes, we're not going to get these people in a home. So no matter what the mortgage is, it doesn't really matter if it's 20 years or 30 years. Ultimately, I can't help them until they get more income coming in.
Yeah, and adding to all of those factors, one of the biggest problems I think that people are having is debt to income ratios aren't qualifying them. So yeah, they may have an appropriate income and their credit score may be fine. They may have a down payment, but there's other issues with the loan too. It hasn't said anything about adjusting the debt to income ratios. And let's just pretend that this does fix the problem of affordability. And you have a lot of buyers that are able to now use this tool to purchase a home in the bottom 1/3 of the market because they're first-time home buyers. So it's probably the bottom 1/3 of the market. What is that going to do to the home prices in the bottom 1/3 of the market and the availability of those homes? Suddenly you have an injection of new buyers that weren't able to be buyers previously. So I don't think it's going to work that well, but if it did, it still doesn't solve the problem. It only makes it worse. So,
Right.
D Jones says amen. Kelvin, sorry, I got a call. Sorry. Kelvin J. Harris says a 20-year mortgage doesn't fix anything in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area, which are a few of the senators who worked this bill represent. Home prices are relatively high in these areas, and many buyers don't have 20% to put down. This area does have high income jobs, but also have high cost of living and the cost of education. Yeah. So it's just an overall problem of affordability, which I always go back to what Jim Rohn says about that kind of stuff, where it's just better to increase your value to the marketplace. And as you improve and increase your value to the marketplace, you'll probably get paid more. And that's just kind of how it goes.
Can I ask the question that I always ask with all of these?
Yeah.
We can all say it together. Where are the incentives for sellers?
Yeah. Where's that seller's incentive? All right, so let's get to oops, wrong button. Let's get to
just all
two
Clubhouse.
articles.
Let's go.
All Clubhouse all the time. Let's get to two articles really quickly. First, we've been alluding to this. It's the Loan Depot article, the Ex-loanDepot COO, Tony Hsieh, cut corners to boost volume. Am I sharing this article? Is it on the screen? I can't see my screen. Nope, it's not on the screen. Hang on. And we're doing this, and
We are live producing a show. There we go.
Live from New York. So the Ex-loanDepot CEO, he cut corners. Former executive Loan Depot dropped a bombshell on the mortgage industry late Wednesday, alleging in a lawsuit the California-based non-bank lender, in a ploy to drum up money during the refi boom, in preparation for its initial public offering, closed thousands of loans without proper documentation.
Yeah, 8,000 of them. I don't want to get too far ahead because you'll probably cover in the article. 8,000 of them that he personally said close those. 8,000. He personally is what the article alleges.
He allegedly screamed in a production meeting, August 2020, "I am mellow clear." What does that mean?
I don't know what that means. I looked it up, but I didn't. I don't know what that means.
I feel like it's like a superhero name, but I don't.
That like he's yelling what he is, and it's also they do have a loan program. I think Loan Depot does called Mellow something, but it's not Mellow Clear.
I am mellow clear. We must immediately close loans regardless of documentation. These are top executives at Loan Depot allegedly didn't bat an eye at its tactics. Wait, what? It's one thing for a dude to be like, guys, just push it through. And you're like, I don't think we should do this. It's another thing for you to go, okay.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's the CEO. Let's go. But this lady was like, whoa. And then was eventually demoted because of it.
After 2 months, the same point was made to Miss Richards when he allegedly, this is Hsieh. Sorry, I can't say his name.
I think it's just
Hsieh, but it's got an H. Hsieh. Allegedly announcing that in the sales team, the sales team needs to, quote, close all loans, close without credit reports, close without documentation, close all loans, quote unquote.
Yeah.
What?
And then
wait. Tim Reagan says Mellow is their LOS system. Okay, Tim, thank you for that. So, but it's spelled in the article MELLO, but maybe they didn't.
Well, it's spelled just like Melrose here in California, so that's why I thought it was weird.
I am mellow clear. I still like. I would love for an artist rendition of this, where he's in front of everyone and suddenly, like, he's like a normally dressed, just kind of a stoic fella, and then there's talk around and then suddenly there's like the anime like flashes and stuff, and a cape is thrown on him. He's still in a dressed suit, but a cape is thrown on him, and he screams, "I am mellow clear! I'm mellow clear!" Richards accused the CEO, who founded Loan Depot in 2009, of directing the company's chief credit officer, Brian Rugg, to refrain from auditing the 8,000 loans.
And that dude was like, sure. Okay.
Let's see. The report showed that the revenues increased from $1.3 billion in 2019 to $4.3 billion in 2020.
Dude, so it went up 300%. That's crazy.
They originated about 100.7 billion loans in 2020.
I had a couple points. So the lawsuit filed by Richards also includes multiple allegations that male company executives created and enforced a quote unquote misogynistic frat house culture that routinely led to women being harassed and demeaned. So there's more to this than just the fraud. Loan Depot, the nation's second largest non-bank retail mortgage lender, went public in February. So there's a lot to this too. Okay, so just follow the money, right? So they went public selling 3.85 million shares at $14 and raising $54 million. The company filed reports that showed its revenues increased from 1.3 billion to 4.3 billion. And now here's the best part. I said it earlier, Hsieh or Hsieh.
See, now I got you saying it.
Yeah. I think it's just Hsieh, but anyway, has been the biggest beneficiary of the IPO. Initial public
offering, yeah.
As the largest shareholder, last year he took advantage of a one-time discretionary performance bonus of $42.5 million. So Ray, hey, we closed all these loans, dude. I'm killing it right now. Give me my 43 million.
Yeah. I mean, sounds good, Dan.
Seems legit. The math seems to add up. Totally fine. Ray.
Seems to work out. All right,
Nothing
so now we're gonna
be here.
we're gonna have to quickly. Oh, Julie Moon says, and people wonder why we only want to work with local lenders. So this is also an interesting article coming to us out of Sarasota. Some nefarious, I'm going to say allegedly. Honestly, the way it's all kind of built out, I think the agent's probably clear of anything, honestly. But we're going to go ahead and talk about it. In Sarasota, it says a double-end real estate deal in Sarasota nets big commission, but provokes lawsuit questions. A lawsuit, questions. All right, so Barry Cohen and his wife were positive the waterfront home on West Royal Flamingo Drive in Sarasota was perfect for them, and they're willing to pay for it. But when their offer of $500,000 over the $4.5 million asking price was snubbed, they were surprised, sending Cohen looking for answers from the owner. I went to the neighborhood. He was walking his dog, and we talked. This was the house we loved. It didn't take long for Cohen and the owner, Thomas Davenport, to be suspicious of the deal put together by the salesperson. I don't really want to name him because it's all a whole lawsuit thing. Who was the transaction broker for both Davenport and the winning bidder. As they shared their stories, Cohen and Davenport concluded that Cohen's offer was the highest and best, but was not presented that way by the agent. I'll say his last name, Pettingill. So
can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
So this is in Florida, and I don't know how things work in Florida, but so he's the listing agent and then represented the buyer, but he's not the broker.
I happen to know a lot about Florida real estate because I watched the whole 30-minute presentation on this website about this case because I was trying to figure out what they like. What do they have? Like, what is it?
Yeah, this is the only part I don't fully understand. So
you had the listing agent that represented the listing, right? He's getting offers, multiple offer situations. Yeah. One of those offers is his own.
Right.
Cohen had been a buyer that submitted an offer. Right. Mm-hmm. A $500,000 over list price. Thought he was highest and best. The
with no inspection contingency, remember?
Right. No inspection contingency, just like the winning bid. But the winning bid was 4.6 million. So this guy had offered 5 million. 4.6 million closes. Right. And so they're like, why did that guy? Why did that happen? That was $400,000 less than my offer.
Right. And the seller's like, what?
Yeah. The seller's like, hold on. That doesn't sound like the way it was presented to me. Apparently the agent verbally presented the offers to the sellers. And the one he represented, he pushed more. This is all allegedly, apparently, whatever. Right. And the other three were rejected offers. And it was all done verbally to the sellers. Like, here's the offers.
He didn't actually see
there was something about it that, and they don't come out and say like, well, they didn't say that you had an escalation clause that would push it $500,000 up. They just said, he denigrated the other four offers, including the Cohen contract, stating they were inferior. And this guy's
was there an appraisal on these, or were these cash? Does it say that?
I don't know. I think they were both. I think they're cash. Okay. So then it goes into like how that he collected an entire 6% commission of $276,000. We don't know that though yet. I'm trying to figure out exactly where that comes from.
D. Jones said both were cash.
Both were cash.
So they seem like apples to apples, right? What am I missing?
So in one of the things we don't know is what happened to Cohen's real estate agent.
Oh, okay.
He's not mentioned at all.
Well, okay. I was going to save this, but hold on. Let me go back to the article.
So
at the
Cohen was
at the very end.
Okay.
At the very end, it mentions. Hold on. I need to get to the very end. Everyone. So this is from Goldman, who is an attorney and realtor, Rob Goldman. He advises sellers, blah blah blah. Everything has to be presented to the seller. Nothing can be hidden from the seller. If I wonder whether I should disclose something or not, I disclose it, right? And then it goes on to say Cohen, who ended up buying another multi-million-dollar property in Sarasota through this agent.
Yeah. So it's the other agent had another. So what that agent did was he said, "Hey, I'm sorry we lost out on this one. There's another property coming up, but it's $2 million more."
But
And the
if
guy
you
was like,
didn't trust
"Okay."
this guy, why did you still buy a house with him?
Well, he says it's the quote, "They had us over the barrel. They knew that was the that was the property we wanted." So the what he's suing for, what the buyer is suing for, is the difference in sales price. He had to pay $2 million more for the one he got. So he wants that money back because he would have saved that if he bought.
Because he would have ended up. So he bought a $7 million house instead of a $5 million house.
Yeah,
I think he's got way bigger, way less problems than he's. I don't know. I feel like he's doing pretty good.
The brokerage and the agent said that there's no merit to the allegations against him. Unfortunately, not at liberty to discuss while litigation is pending. So this brought up several issues. One was the representation issue in Florida, and someone on the where's this, News Channel 8 in Sarasota.
Yeah, this is a local article, by the way.
Right. Someone chimed in on their broadcast and said, I've got 30 years of experience in the business. Dual agency should be outlawed. And the newscaster was like, actually, dual agency is outlawed in Florida.
So then how did this agent do dual agency?
He didn't he does a transaction brokerage, which then makes fiduciary responsibility to no one. So it moves fiduciary responsibility from the seller to the transaction itself. So he only looks at the transaction, and he has to do what's good for the deal and not necessarily what's good for the buyer or the seller. So we can't say, well, wow, Mr. Buyer, it seems like you're really overpaying for this. Or, man, seller, you're really selling this for cheaper than you should.
Yeah, you're missing out.
In that situation. Wow. So he becomes transaction brokerage. Now, in some states, you can do dual agency. And if you do dual agency, your fiduciary responsibility is to both.
Yes, that's how it is
and the buyer.
Yeah.
So in those cases, I think the buyer probably would have gotten a little bit better representation, it seems. But well, I don't know if Cohen was represented or not. It doesn't mention anything about his representation.
It never does, which you think it would, because he would say my agent didn't, so maybe he was trying to go directly to him as well. But then that goes.
I feel like there's got to be something else involved. There's got to be something that he said. I don't know. I just feel like there's something else there.
Oh, there you go.
Has not come out yet. And
D said Cohen had his own agency. He said it on the news.
Oh, Cohen does have. Okay, I haven't seen that. I watched the full 30-minute thing. I didn't see that.
I mean, isn't this kind of a smoke there's fire thing to anyone else?
Yeah. You wonder how many other times it's happened, which is one of the reasons why the buyer's bringing the lawsuit, and it's so public because it's worth so much money.
If this were a $8,000 commission, I don't know if we'd get, but this is $246,000 he made. It was a full 6% commission.
Right. And there's, I think in Canada, they disclose the specifics of the contract once they go under contract.
Yeah. And by the way,
there's like a thing where once they go under contract, they're still under contract, and they say, here's what it sold for. Here's what it's under contract for. While they're still under, before they close.
Oh, I don't know if that's, I guess that's not bad. It's just if it doesn't close, that's not an actual sale. So you can't really go by that number anymore. Cause it's
interesting.
The number doesn't mean anything until it closes. Right. But
some kind of disclosure thing. So this brought up a no representation discussion, which I think is good if you're looking for videos to make on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. This would be a great case to talk about. You have the no representation issue. You have the dual agency representation issue. You have putting everything in writing. So apparently the part of the complaint is that these offers were not presented in writing. Well, one of the things that we do is, especially if we're in a multiple offer situation, I'm uploading all of those offers to a box. Like a Dropbox, then I email that to the seller and let them know whenever offers hit, and that way they can see them all. We go through them, then I call them, and we go through each contract line by line, page by page, and discuss the differences. They take notes, and then they pick one, and the ones they don't pick, they have to sign saying that they did reject those. And that assures the buyer, hopefully and supposedly, that will assure the buyer that the seller did see that offer and they did reject that offer, in fact. So I'm wondering if that happened, if like, what if the seller just took the guy's word for it, and then when he said, all right, sign these, here's your rejections, and they just signed them and didn't read them, that now goes to the fault of the seller. Because
what if there were no signed rejections?
Yeah, if there are no signed rejections, then I think it would be the fault of that agent. And was there an actual offer on paper? They're talking about a verbal presentation of offers. I think the offer itself was on paper, but the presentation of offers to the seller was verbal, and they didn't like that. So Cohen is suing the seller also, apparently. He probably thought the seller wanted a lower commission since the agent had both sides. Maybe. Julie Moon says, what? Seller don't read the contracts? Melissa Marr says she emails them and have them numbered. Then she makes a spreadsheet with all the important terms, deadlines. So you can do the spreadsheet thing, but that's dangerous. If you, as a real estate agent, make a typo on that spreadsheet, and
what if you say there's, So
I just send them the documents. I don't make any kind of summary.
So we use a company called Transactly, and what it does is, so when you submit, you have to submit your offer through it, the basics of the offer, and then all the supporting documentation. It's very, very simple. And when the seller opens it, it sends you a notification. So if Ray submits an offer through Transactly, it'll show you when the seller opens it, which is usually within the first day you submit it. And then it tells you when I open it. So it tells you when all the parties open and see the offer. So you're being informed. And then the offers that don't get accepted, they'll get a formal rejection through Transactly as well. So it's very, very, very transparent.
Andy Rose Realtor says, Florida has a seller decline signature line. So there is a signature line for the seller to decline on the Florida real estate.
Yeah, we have that too. But was it done here? Because it says everything was verbally presented. So was it done here?
Now, I don't know when Justin popped in, but I do have a local Canadian. a local Canadian. Justin, we were just, I don't know if you're here or if you're just here to support, but we were just talking about how in Canada, don't you guys disclose the contract before you close? You'll be like, hey, this is what this house is currently under contract for or sold for. Do you also disclose the terms of that contract?
So it depends if you're talking commercial or residential. Residential, yes. So you'll see the sold price of that property before it actually closes. You'll see the closing date, but you won't see the terms and condition of it. There's a weird thing that we do too, where, if it's conditional on financing and an inspection, you can see that while it's conditional, but after it's firm, it's typically just the price and the closing date. On the commercial side, they can suppress listing information, which they do like crazy. So if it's conditional, they don't post it at all. Actually, even after it's closed, you have to go through the TerraNet system or land registry to find out what happened. You can't find out any terms of any leases or anything. You just see the actual rates.
Wow.
It's so funny that do you hear the language he used? You can suppress the information.
Yeah.
That we don't have access to that information at all. So that's really interesting. I mean, the difference in how you guys do it. So you can, so the price and the closing date is disclosed, but not the individual terms of the contract. So in this case, if this were the case in Florida, Mr. Cohen would have seen a $4.6 million offer get accepted when his $5 million offer was rejected. Do you guys in Canada have a lot of lawsuits that happens when people are like, hey, that's a lower offer than I submitted. I need some proof here.
Well, it literally happened to one of my guys last night. So we submitted an offer. They did a price drop on a property way lower than they should have. So we gave them a full price offer. And then they were verbally negotiating another offer, which means nothing until it's on paper. I think there was some shenanigans that happened. They ended up accepting an offer 50 grand less than our offer. And I had a discussion with another seller I have in that community because that will directly impact her sale. And lo and behold, by attrition, within probably a couple of days, that seller's going to find out. And yeah, you will see it get escalated. Lawsuits are very different here.
Sorry, I got a call.
Local board and then RICO will make a governance and they can actually make a ruling on it. And then there will be small claims court and obviously your typical lawsuit process if it's deemed worth it. I don't think we will in this case. I think we'll just try to get to the crux of the professional standards aspect of it. But yes and no, I guess, are my answers.
Very interesting. Well, thank you for enlightening us, Justin. I appreciate it. So I see two things. One is process, which we all say process, right?
Process.
But the other thing, that disclosure, that's pretty wild. I could definitely see how that would expedite some of the lawsuits and stuff like that. We record sales at the MLS, but rarely do people go back and check what a home sold for, and that kind of thing. I mean, sometimes you'll have a buyer ask a question, but it's very, very rare.
Really rare. So, it just comes up. Now it's a comp for other appraisers to use, or other agents using to price homes.
So there you go. That is the that's the ticket for the day. That's the stories, and we're sticking to them.
That's it.
So now there's going to be no show next week, unfortunately. However, the good news is if you're in Dallas for the Tom Ferry Conference, you reach out to me and Dan. We're going to be there. We'd love just to say hi to you guys, so be sure to stop by. You can connect with us. Connect with me on Instagram. It's Ray Zorback, RayZorback, because the hogs will beat the dogs. And Dan, would you tell everybody where they can connect with you?
It's right down here. D Ludwig Ross, DLUDWIGROCKS. Go Hogs.
Julie Moon says because you'll be mourning after your loss. No. We're at a conference.
He will be celebrating after their win. I also chose the Hogs in the. Oh, my camera went off. Anyway, there we go. We got to go. That's timing right there.
Okay, she said, I have tickets to the game. We'll be yelling loudly at your piggies. Okay, good. I hope we can smoke you. It's going to be a tough game, though. All right, guys. We'll see y'all later. Bye, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
There you are, Dan. Bye.